There comes a moment, sometimes in silence, sometimes in chaos, when a person feels the weight of their own thoughts pressing in on them. A quiet realization, a truth no one can outrun. You become what you think about, not what you wish for. Not what you say out loud when the world is watching, but what you silently, obsessively, consistently think about when no one is looking. And if you don't learn to command your thoughts, they will command you. They will become your master. They will shape your emotions, your habits, your days, your identity, and eventually, your destiny. This is not poetry. This is power. Clement Stone once said, "Whatever the mind of man can conceive and believe, it can achieve." But he didn't stop there. He lived it. He built an empire from nothing, fueled by nothing but faith, relentless action, and a positive mental attitude. Understand this. PMA is not naive optimism. It is the fiercest kind of strength. It is the discipline to stand in the middle of the storm and say, "I still believe." It's not about pretending everything is okay. It's about knowing deep down that no matter how dark the road gets, you still have the power to choose your thoughts. And in that choice lies your freedom. Look around. Most people are imprisoned, not by steel bars, but by mental chains. Chains of fear, doubt, guilt, and shame. Chains passed down from family, culture, failure, and forgotten dreams. They don't even realize they're wearing them, because when you hear the same inner voice telling you you're not enough for long enough, you start to believe it's true. But it isn't. That voice isn't your truth. It's just your programming. And the beautiful, terrifying fact is this: you can reprogram it. You can rebuild the entire system. You can choose today, this hour, this moment, to rise and command your mind. Because if you don't, it will command you. It will convince you to stay small. It will rationalize your procrastination. It will whisper, "Let's do it tomorrow," when you know the moment is now. And the worst part, it will use your voice to do it. That is why the battle is not out there. The real war, the most important one you will ever fight, is within. Clement Stone knew this. He studied it, taught it, lived it. He called it inspirational self-help action, and it wasn't just a phrase. It was a way of life. You see, Stone wasn't born into wealth. He wasn't handed success. He was raised by a widowed mother in the heart of Chicago. At 6 years old, he was selling newspapers to help put food on the table. At 16, he saved $100 and turned it into a business. And eventually, he turned that business into a multi-million-dollar insurance empire. How? Because he refused to let his thoughts control him. He refused to surrender to circumstance. And he understood one universal law that most people never grasp. Your thoughts are seeds. Your actions are the water. And your results are the harvest. But most people plant weeds and expect roses. They say, "I can't," and then wonder why they're powerless. They say, "It's too late," and then watch their dreams die before their time. They rehearse fear in their minds again and again until courage becomes foreign to them. But not you, not anymore. Because right now, this very second, you are waking up. You are remembering that your mind is not your enemy. It's your most powerful tool. It was designed to obey your will, but it only follows orders when the commander shows up. So show up, not just in the morning, not just when things are easy, every day, every hour, every moment. You must learn to command your thoughts like a general commands his army, with clarity, with purpose, with conviction. You must catch yourself mid-sentence when you say, "I'm not ready," and replace it with, "I will prepare and I will act." You must look doubt in the face and say, "You are not my voice. You are just noise." This is not motivation. This is mental conditioning. This is how champions are forged. Edison failed 10,000 times before the light bulb. Ford was mocked for thinking every family could own a car. Stone was laughed at for preaching optimism in a cynical world. But they believed. They acted. They commanded their thoughts. And so must you. Because here's the truth most people are too afraid to admit. You will never rise higher than the level of your thoughts. Not in business. Not in relationships. Not in health. Not in life. The mind is the thermostat of destiny. Set it low, and no matter how much effort you exert, you will sabotage yourself. Set it high and align it with action. And you will walk through fire and come out forged in gold. But make no mistake, there is a price. The price is discipline. Discipline is the bridge between the man you are and the man you could become. It is the daily war against ease, excuse, and emotion. It is waking up when the world sleeps. It is acting when every voice says wait. It is choosing the harder path again and again until it becomes the only path. Stone understood this more deeply than most. He wrote, "Definiteness of purpose with positive mental attitude is the starting point of all worthwhile achievement. Not maybe, not someday, not when it's convenient. Now, definiteness of purpose is the internal compass, the non-negotiable, the reason behind the rise. If you don't know what you want with crystal clarity, your thoughts will wander like a blind horse in a burning stable. They'll panic, they'll bolt, and they'll take you with them. But if you do know your purpose, if you define your why, if you burn it into your mind, if you make it your obsession, then every thought becomes a soldier. Every doubt becomes fuel. Every failure becomes feedback. And the impossible, it becomes inevitable. Let me tell you a truth that should shake you to your core. You are the sum total of every dominant thought you've ever accepted as true. Think about that. All the hesitation, all the fear, all the hesitation dressed up as realism. It didn't come from the world. It came from you. And if you created that prison with your mind, you can burn it to the ground the same way. But you must be willing to think new thoughts. You must unlearn everything that no longer serves the vision of who you could be. That means guarding your mind like a sacred temple, not letting in opinions that don't align with your purpose, not feeding on fear-driven media, not surrounding yourself with people whose words drip with limitation. It means repeating with boldness, "I will only think thoughts that push me forward. I will only speak words that build, not break. I will feed my mind with faith even when the world sells fear." Because here's the thing no one wants to admit. Success is simple. Not easy, but simple. Stone wrote about it. Napoleon Hill wrote about it. Every giant of thought, Carnegie, Nightingale, Mandino, Peale, they all pointed to the same fire. Control your mind, and you control your life. Period. But what does that really mean? It means when fear shows up, you stay planted. It means when doubt whispers, you speak louder. It means when the world says you can't, you show it that you will. It means thinking deliberately. Like an artist paints a masterpiece. Every stroke intentional, every line shaped by vision, not accident. It means you no longer wake up and let your emotions decide who you are. You decide. You set the tone. You define the state. You become the cause, not the effect. That's the kind of person who builds empires. That's the kind of person who changes the world. That's the kind of person who starts with nothing and creates everything. But let me tell you something you need to hear. And I mean need to hear, because no one else will say it like this. You will fail. You will fall. You will face days where belief feels like a cruel joke. You will look in the mirror and question if any of this was worth it. And in that moment, that defining moment, you will have two options. Surrender to the lie or rise into the truth. The truth is, failure isn't the opposite of success. It is the training ground for it. Clement Stone never said, avoid failure. He said, every adversity has the seed of an equivalent or greater benefit. That means every fall is a gift, but only to the one wise enough to extract the lesson and brave enough to get back up. Think of Thomas Edison, sitting in his lab after his 10,000th failed experiment. When asked how it felt to fail so many times, he said, I have not failed. I've just found 10,000 ways that won't work. That is the mind of a champion. That is PMA in action. He didn't worship the result. He believed in the process. And belief is everything. Belief is not wishful thinking. Belief is certainty in the face of zero evidence. It is the ability to see light while standing in darkness. It is the mother of resilience, the father of action, the soil from which every impossible dream is born. And if you don't have it yet, then let this be the moment you decide to cultivate it. Not tomorrow, now. Because belief isn't found, it's built, thought by thought, habit by habit, day by day. Let me ask you this. When was the last time you kept a promise to yourself? Not to someone else, not a deadline for work, not a favor for a friend. A promise to yourself, because that's where self-trust is born. Not in the big speeches or breakthroughs, but in the small, silent battles that no one else sees. You say you'll get up early. Will you? You say you'll train, write, build, create, show up. Will you? Or will you break your word and sell your integrity for comfort? Clement Stone called this the habit of action, the invisible force that builds empires. The daily discipline of doing what needs to be done, whether you feel like it or not. That is the real magic. Not motivation, motion. The forward march, the invisible muscle of self-discipline. Because emotion is temporary, but self-respect? That lasts forever, and it grows every time you do the hard thing. When no one claps, when no one sees, when every cell in your body begs you to quit, but you don't. That's when the new you is born. The you that can no longer be manipulated by fear. The you that doesn't beg for permission. The you that commands their thoughts with such intensity that every action becomes inevitable. Because when your inner world is aligned, the outer world must follow. That's not mysticism. That's physics. That's cause and effect. That's a universal law. Your thoughts become beliefs. Your beliefs become actions. Your actions become habits. Your habits become identity. And identity determines destiny. So what identity are you building today? The man who tries? Or the man who executes? The woman who wishes? Or the woman who decides? The soul who waits for a sign? Or the soul who becomes the sign? Understand this. There will never be a perfect moment. There will never be an ideal path laid out in front of you. No voice will come from the sky and say, "Now is your time." That voice is already inside you, but you must silence the noise long enough to hear it. Listen to me. This life, this one, precious, fragile, fire-filled life, is not a rehearsal. There is no warm-up round, no practice lap. You do not get to the end and start over. You get this shot, this breath, this hour, this chapter of time right now, to become something more than what the world expects. And the clock doesn't stop ticking because you're scared. It doesn't pause while you get ready. It moves forward, whether you do or not. So if you don't command your thoughts now, if you don't take the reins of your mind today, you will live out someone else's design. You will drift in a sea of distraction and false urgency, tethered not by ropes, but by your own inaction. But if you take control, if you declare dominion over your thinking, if you shape your thoughts like a sculptor shapes marble, if you master the inner game, then no circumstance can stop you. No failure can define you. No setback can derail the momentum of a mind that is locked in, tuned to faith, and aligned with purpose. Because when the mind is strong, the world bends to meet it. That's not ego, that's alignment. That's cause-meeting effect. That's the invisible force behind every miracle you've ever witnessed. You think greatness is for the chosen? It's not. It's for the committed. It's for the quietly disciplined. The ones who build themselves in the dark, who rewrite their thoughts while others sleep, who turn down the noise of the world long enough to hear the whisper of their destiny and answer it. So here's your wake-up call. Not from me, but from the part of you that's been buried under doubt, under fear, under the lies you've been told and the ones you've told yourself. That part of you is done waiting. It is ready to rise. It is tired of excuses. It is done negotiating with mediocrity. And it is demanding that you remember who you are, why you're here, what you're capable of. Because you weren't made to live a life of quiet desperation. You weren't made to tiptoe to your grave, avoiding failure, only to arrive safely, regretting the fire you never let burn. You were made to build, to lead, to speak, to move, to risk, to rise, to command your thoughts so completely that nothing can shake the vision planted in your soul. That is the power of a disciplined mind. That is the weapon of all great achievers. Not luck, not talent, not connections. Conviction. Conviction in thought. Conviction in action. Conviction in identity. Stone knew this. He didn't just talk about success. He embodied it. He didn't wait for motivation. He manufactured it. He didn't dabble in dreams. He declared them. And then he acted like they were already real. He wrote them, spoke them, breathed them, lived them, and in doing so, he proved a timeless truth. The world does not give you what you want. It gives you who you are. So who are you becoming? Right now, not someday. Not when it's easier. Not after the fear goes away. Now. Because everything you want is waiting. Not out there, but inside. Inside the thoughts you choose. Inside the discipline you build. Inside the man or woman you decide to be. No one is coming to save you. No one is coming to give you permission. No one will believe in you until you believe in yourself. So stop waiting and start commanding. Start choosing thoughts that elevate. Start speaking words that empower. Start acting like the person you were born to be, not the one life tried to make you. This is not hype. This is not fantasy. This is fact. You are a walking supercomputer. Your brain holds 100 billion neurons. Your heart beats 100,000 times a day. Your lungs breathe in 11,000 liters of air daily. Your body regenerates itself constantly. You are not average. You are a miracle with a mind. So why would you use that power to relive fear, to replay failure, to rehearse disaster, when you could just as easily rehearse victory? Imagine this. What if you thought about your goals as often as you think about your fears? What if you visualized success with the same intensity you imagine worst-case scenarios? What if you obsessed over self-mastery, like people obsess over entertainment? You would be unstoppable, not because the world changed, but because you did. Because your thoughts became allies, not enemies. Because you stopped renting space in your mind to doubt, fear, worry, and indecision, and started leasing that space to vision, faith, purpose, and execution. That is how empires are built. That is how legends are forged. That is how the average becomes elite. And you don't need anyone's approval to begin. You need a decision that says, from this moment forward, I command my thoughts. I direct my mind. I choose my state. I build my identity. And I act from alignment, not emotion. Because my goals are not optional. My dream is not a hobby. My life is not an accident. It is a mission, and I will live it with discipline, devotion, and unshakable clarity. Say it again, out loud if you must. I will not be ruled by fear. I will not be shackled by doubt. I will not surrender to average. I am the commander of my mind, and I will rise. Not once, not twice, every single day, because that's what it takes. Not talent, not luck, but repetition. Relentless, focused, aligned repetition of the right thoughts, spoken with belief, acted on with urgency, refined with discipline, and reinforced with identity. That is how you command your mind. That is how you shift your life. That is how you honor the gift you've been given, by becoming all you were born to be. So the next time the old thoughts show up, the ones that say you can't, you're not ready, who do you think you are? Look them in the eye and say, I am not that story anymore. I am not that fear anymore. I am not that version of me anymore. And then take one small action to prove it. That's how transformation begins. Not with a leap, with a step, and then another, and another, until one day you wake up, look in the mirror, and barely recognize the warrior staring back. And you'll smile, not because it was easy, but because you earned it. Because you showed up when it was hard. Because you chose the storm instead of shelter. Because you commanded your mind, and in doing so, you finally set yourself free. So rise, command your thoughts. Take the throne of your mind, because the kingdom of your destiny is waiting for its rightful ruler. And that ruler is you. Now go, build, create, move, speak, act, lead. Think like the person you were born to become until you become them. And then keep going. Because the journey doesn't end at arrival. It begins. There's always a next level, a deeper layer, a higher calling. And when you command your mind, you'll hear it, you'll feel it, and you'll answer, not with hesitation, but with fire. This is the path. This is the truth. This is the power you've had all along. Now, use it.